Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has arrived in Samoa to attend a Commonwealth Leaders Summit where heads of government are reportedly planning on defying the UK and examining slavery reparations. We have breaking news on that. Beth is standing by for us. Beth, what can you tell us?
Well, Kay, as leaders gather for the opening banquet of this summit, the story is moving here around the issue of reparatory justice for slave trade, which could run for the UK into the billions. It's something that the Prime Minister wanted to keep off the agenda coming to this summit. He said there's no plans to discuss it. He wanted to look forward and talk about economic growth and cooperation rather than looking back to the past, and it was something he did not want to discuss. Well, it might be something he doesn't want to discuss, but it is something that other leaders do want to discuss, indeed do want to get into the communique. That's the agreement that comes at the end of this summit, where leaders put together a communique about what they've agreed and discussed at this summit. Now, as I understand it, the original hope or desire for a number of Commonwealth leaders was to have a separate declaration demanding reparatory justice, which of course is something the UK could not sign up to, and perhaps some other countries could not sign up to. So this would have been something that would have very publicly split the Commonwealth. Instead of that, I think there's been a lot of diplomatic to-in and fro-in, and there has been a diplomatic ladder to climb down, is how one person put it to me, and that is some sort of declaration within the communique that could say something along the lines, and the wording hasn't been decided yet, but it could note calls for reparatory justice regarding the transatlantic slavery and the role that countries played in it, and the heads of governments would be expected to take an active role in bringing about those inclusive conversations and addressing those harms. As I understand it too, the Prime Minister of Barbados, I think, is also coming up on the airwaves of the Bahamas, sorry. He's been speaking to Politico this morning, saying that he wants to have a frank talk with Keir Starmer about reparatory justice. So other leaders being vocal on this now. So it's something I think the Prime Minister wanted to keep off the table. It's certainly going to come up in discussions, and it matters in material terms because any sort of agreement could run into billions of pounds for the UK. It's something that the Prime Minister might not have wanted to talk about, but it will be, if not put on the formal agenda, discussed in various bilats in the coming days, and as I said, some sort of wording in the final communique to pursue exploratory talks and discussions around this issue.
So, Beth, any decision there could potentially cost British taxpayers tens of billions of pounds?
Yes, and I think the thing is that this is a discussion. It's a discussion that has been going on. It's whether or not we want to have the discussion or not. Other leaders are having that discussion. And I think the point of this is the worst case scenario for the UK government would have been a separate agreement that some leaders put forward, that the UK government and Commonwealth leaders would have had to vote on, which would have split the Commonwealth at a time when certainly Keir Starmer and King Charles is trying to bring the Commonwealth together to use it as a vehicle of trading and cultural exchange. Is not something, a very public split over this, that certainly the UK Prime Minister would want. And so what's going on instead is talks about putting it into the communique, but not in a way that divides, but in a way that language is found that can bring the leaders together. But it makes it a very live issue here. And as I said, I think we'll see other Commonwealth leaders publicly talk about this in a way that will draw the Prime Minister into the conversation. One source said to me that the Prime Minister very clearly coming over to this summit saying it's not on the agenda, it's not up for discussion, has obviously agitated potentially some leaders that would like it to be, and whatever he may wish, it looks now that there will be some wording in the final communique. It's a work in progress.